Hi, Gurkanwal, things you can apply in other essays. So first of all, I want to explain to you my method. I use different color highlights, and the highlights mean different things. The red highlights are areas that can be maybe worked on in terms of sentence structure or clarity or just maybe a problem area that I have some questions about. Anything that's highlighted in green means that um, I think it relates to the bigger idea of your entire essay. So maybe things like topic sentences and things that um, really tell the reader what you're writing about. And so I'm looking to find some of these, at least one of these sentences in every paragraph. And with you, I've got a couple in there, and then maybe not some in one other. And so we might want to look at spreading that around a little bit. Um, and then of course I see more green here and there at the end, which is great because that's really when the final conclusions are drawn, and I definitely should be seeing the big idea in the conclusion. Um, let's see if there's any other kinds of marks in here. Oh, these are just little things I've circled, and I'll talk to you as I go through. All right, well, first of all, I want to compliment you on your format. You definitely followed the MLA format to a T. You've got the heading, and you've got a title and your name and page number, which is great. And you definitely have a sense of organization of starting it chronologically from the beginning of your story kind of to where you are now. And so it's really easy to follow in terms of organization and overall structure of the essay, which is nice because not everyone's essay is necessarily like that. So you definitely have a very solid understanding of what to do with an essay. Um, I also think that you have a solid focus. Like, I don't think you're wandering around with not knowing what your whole story is. You're focusing on a particular time in your life when you accomplish something really important, um, not only for you as a child, but important probably to your entire life experience. And I think that you really are clear about that, especially in the end. I'm going to, sorry if I make you dizzy. I'm just going to scroll down here to the end here. When you say English is a vital literacy that everyone must have, at least a basic knowledge of it, if not advanced. I really just love this part right here. This idea, let's see if I can pull that in here. This idea that English is so vital, a vital literacy. I really draw a little hard. I love that. So I think that might be something that you may want to say at other times in the essay also, just to remind the reader of really what you're doing here. Okay, so let's look at, I think if your growing edge is in sentence and paragraph construction. Um, so what I mean by that, what I'm looking for in a paragraph um, is, let's see, let me see if I can make a little, I was saying. Okay, so paragraphs, this isn't going to let me, I guess let's call these paragraph parts, okay? So you need to have a topic or a sentence, or in the case of a narrative, it's going to be kind of what we call a controlling idea, okay? So the topic sentence may not be at the very beginning of a paragraph in a narrative particularly, but there needs to be some sort of a controlling idea that guides the reader from paragraph to paragraph that is connecting the dots for the reader, all right? Paragraphs also need to have be developed with supporting details. Okay, now those supporting details are going to look like stories, right? They could be dialogue. It can be details, like maybe we could say like visual details. They could be maybe characterizations, like of describing certain people. I'm just thinking about in terms of supporting details in a narrative. Um, they could be events. Okay, let me finish where I was. Sorry, I had an interruption. Um, okay, so we've got topic sentences, supporting details, and then another part of the paragraphs is maybe also kind of explaining how things are connected. Now, to the big idea. So it's what that means is like you don't just tell these stories and give this dialogue and all these details without kind of explaining how they come back to the overall main point of your essay. And then finally, I'm looking for concluding sentences, or more importantly, transitions, transitional sentences between the paragraphs, okay? Like how do they hook together, okay? So that's what I'm looking for in each of the paragraphs. And the reason why I wanted to list that for you is because I think that you have the parts there, but I don't know that they're in always the best order, especially maybe this part here about explaining how things are connected, and the transitional pieces, okay? So, for example, in an introductory paragraph, your first sentence needs to be sort of your hook, okay? So the first sentence is what we call the hook. And your hook is not a greatly worded hook because you've got your modifiers a little bit mixed up. Having a story, it's really hard to start off a sentence with this kind of a verb here, okay? So we want to avoid that. So having a story of going from rags to riches for my parents themselves. So this is a modifier. Their main motive in life became to educate my sister and I in the way where the rest of our lives would be full of success and affluence. This is the more important part of the sentence. And what you've done is you have subordinated the main message with what's a dependent clause, basically. And actually, it's not even really a dependent clause because there's no subject. So the way I would fix this is something like this. And I'm not gonna do this for every sentence, but I just want you to see what I'm doing without changing your ideas too much. My parents were motivated to provide my sister and I with an education that would allow our lives to be full of success and affluence. My parents, and then what we could do is put in your modifier. So my parents having gone from rags to riches themselves were motivated to provide. Okay, do you see what that did? So this right here is now a modifier. It's modifying, a modifier is like an adjective, only it's a whole phrase where you're giving more information about your parents. Okay, so you're describing your parents. All right, so my parents, having gone from rags to riches themselves, were motivated to provide my sister and I with an education that would allow our lives to be full of success and affluence. So I didn't change anything. I just changed the order, okay? Then, during the years of their struggle occurring in the U.S. Now, this is a little confusing because it's, and I think I know why, because they came without you, right? Um, um, and once again, you've done the modifier first and the sentence second. So you're going to want to reverse that. My parents decided to leave the responsibility um, over my sister and I to my family in India for approximately 7 years while they struggled to, um, I'm assuming, to get settled and to find jobs and to um, have the means to be able to raise their family. Is that right? So if that's true, then you maybe need to add a little bit more information. When I went to India, I was about 6 weeks old, and 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 then you want to insert um, and I, sorry, can't write very well with this, and I returned to the US in first grade as a joyful and excited 6-year-old. Now that is a good modifier. Little was I aware of the struggles I was going to face in school and socially. Okay, little was I aware, so there's another misplaced modifier. Little was I aware of the academic and social struggles I was going to face in school. Does that make sense? So you want to switch those modifiers around. This was going to be this was a very great shortcoming in my mind. And I found myself in immense social pressure. Starting my new life in the US was equally as problematic as it was exciting. So I like this sentence. I actually think that this sentence right here should be the first sentence, okay? Like, make this your first sentence of this paragraph, okay? The reason why is because it connects to school and it talks about problems, but you've used problematic, but you were also excited, okay? And then you go on to the next part. Now, I don't know that you need to say all of this other stuff. Whoops. To say this rest of this, because I think that this is implied later on, and so this information right here, you might want to save this for the conclusion. Okay, it's a little too soon to talk about when you're older, the way the chronological order of this essay is. So then enrolling in Emerald Park Elementary School was the first step towards my literacy, I would just say development, period, especially in English, okay? Fortunately, Mrs. Sabo, who was middle-aged, short hair, and a bright smile, with a bright smile and welcoming nature, happened to be my teacher. I do not know why I marked that. I think we'll trash that one. Okay. Oh. This is what I'm talking about, good detail, okay? On the first day of school, I don't know why you said reach, that's a weird verb, you need to change that. I wore multicolored leggings along with my favorite pink dress. So now we have this dangling modifier again. I would maybe say period. I was all ready to make friends and to learn.